Trapping plays a very important role in modern-day wildlife management. Professional wildlife biologists monitor fur-bearer populations to maintain a healthy and sustainable harvest of this important, renewable natural resource. Trapping provides recreation and income for licensed trappers across this country. Who's Your Trapper Outdoors is brought to you by Who's Your Trapper Supply. J3 Outdoors, manufacturer of the Hag Bracket and Body Trap Spring Clip. Leatherwood Creek Trapping Scents, Who's Your Trapper Deer Scents, and Leatherwood Wildlife Art.
All right, thanks for joining us for this episode 4, season 10 of Who's Your Trapper Outdoors. We'll continue on the Arkansas Trapline. We are going to have the rendezvous this year, September 25th. Got good lineup of demos, good food, kids games, white elephant auction at the end of the day. So for those of you that are attending, please bring something to donate to put into the auction. It's a fundraiser for Fur Takers Chapter 7B. So we're all looking forward to that, certainly after skipping last year. Want to mention the photo contest. We are going to have that again this year. All the information will be on the homepage of the website. There is a specific email that you submit photos through in that notification or in that information that's on the website. It's not on there yet. The contest technically doesn't start till October 1st, but that'll be up there shortly. But so just a heads up, we're having the contest again. I want to thank everybody for the orders. Appreciate that. For those of you that stop by the shop, if you haven't looked at our website, you might give us a look at who'syourtrappersupply.com. Easy to use site. Of course, it's there 24/7. It's got everything you need for trapping. So, hope you enjoy the show.
Come to check in on this beaver set we made, and we got a little guy. We were shooting for a back leg catch, and we ended up front leg catch, ended up catching him by the back leg.
He is really little.
That is a little beaver.
This was just one of those deals we saw beaver sticks and we thought, what the heck, we'll stick a trap in.
Yep. We'll reset it and see if another one comes to visit. If there's little ones like this around, that means there's bigger ones around too.
Beaver and an MB550.
Just for the record, that's less than ideal. We prefer TS-85s with an 8.5-inch jaw spring.
Yeah.
Which would have grabbed that thing by the body.
The water's gone down a little bit. Here's the prize.
If we ever get time, it would be nice to do a mount with beavers that size, but
They still got big old feet on them.
it's just trying to find the time to do that stuff. All right, after a really long dry spell, check day 5. Pull up here, area's disturbed, stuff's chewed on. It was a pre-wrap drag. We're not even seeing the drag. When we start walking around, this is the first for us. And there's a culvert going under the Forest Service road right here, and I just happened to see the change. And there's a coyote down inside that pipe. You probably you might be able to hear him, and I doubt that we can pull him out. We'll probably have to shoot him in the pipe to get him out. So soon.
Hit the IR, the night vision.
Charlie's trying to see if we can get a shot on this coyote that's stuck in the culvert down on this end. Yanking on the chain's not really working.
Get him?
I think so. Yep. Drag him out. After we got a flashlight, shot into the pipe, and got this coyote out.
There he is. We went fishing. You just never know what's going to happen out here.
That was definitely a first. And it's funny when I set this one up, caught a bobcat in this location last year. He didn't go down the pipe, obviously. Jake goes, "That'd be funny if he went down on that pipe." It's like, well, he did. I didn't quite think we were that close, but with that 10-foot drag chain on there, he was able to get it down there. So, okay, here's the remake where we just caught the coyote and the one in the culvert. So the ground's super rocky here, so I couldn't get much of a hole in. The top dog, there is a hole that's about that deep. The top dog's below that rock. And I took this rock and I actually kind of angled it down into the hole. I've found that on these smaller rocks, something that an animal can move, they'll have that thing sitting on top of your trap. So this way it's pushed down in that hole, and it'll take a bit for them to actually, get that rock out of position. Hopefully, if they're messing with it that hard, they're going to get caught in the trap. But you got to be careful with those small pieces of rock or logs or backings, because the animal doesn't always just come in just like you would think he would. They're going to come in from the back, the side, mess around. So invariably, when they do that, if you've got that small backing, it can end up on top of your trap. So we're going to try to avoid that. So that's what I did to help remedy that problem. I'm not saying that this wouldn't cause that. This would, won't happen again with this small of a rock, but the way I got shoved in there and angled, I think I can eliminate a lot of that issue. So when you got dirt like this, so, with that much gravel and rock in it, you just can't get much of a hole that ideally should be 8, 10, 12 inches deep. So like I said, this was only about 3 inches deep. So anyways, that's the remake. And like I said, we got quite a few more traps to check, and we'll see how the rest of the day plays out. It's been, other than this coyote, it's been a slow day. So, and the beaver.
Hags Trapping Products by J3 Outdoors, the most versatile and efficient trapping devices on the market.
Top Dog Predator Bait. Success speaks for itself.
Okay, product highlight, new product highlight. So this is the new Duke dogless trap in a number 2 size with the offset jaw. It is night latched, click into place. It is 4-coiled as well. This trap is super, super strong. I would take those 4 coils off. I don't think you need those on there. Aside from that, well made, it's base plated, the whole thing. So anyways, when you're looking through traps and looking for trap suggestions or whatever, you might consider this number 2 Duke dogless. He's not too happy. So this spot right here has been consistent over the years. Basically just a deer camp leading down along this creek. Justin happens to be on the camera. Behind Justin, we've had, this year we did not, but sometimes we'll have a set right on the road. Over there, and we've caught grays there too. For some reason, this is just a good travel corridor. So we can almost always pretty much count that this set is gonna connect, and it certainly did this year. So The coyotes evidently, this is one of their main paths of travel. Caught him in a dirt hole set, top dog, vixen, and just a little touch of long distance. And that's it. So this is still check day 5, second coyote for the day. Caught that little beaver first thing this morning. So we just caught the other coyote in the last location. And this is the next location that we've caught a coyote. And we've trapped, and we've probably checked 55 to 60 sets already with no action. So we get, and this is significantly different area than that other area to speak, so maybe they've moved better over here. If anyone ever can explain that to me, why one area doesn't seem to be producing, and then you get to another area and you seem to have some luck. Just strange. So anyways, get him taken care of and see how the rest of the day plays out. All right, here's the remake on the set where we just caught the coyote. It's kind of a little bit of a hybrid flat set. I had staked this, and I got a cable stake in about halfway. So then you got a piece of cable sticking up. So then I hooked another cable stake on there to double stake with, and stuck it in, and I got it in about 2/3 of the way. It wasn't going anywhere. Nothing's going to pull that out of the ground. But then you got that cable sticking up. So that's what this right here is actually holding that down so that it's not flipped up. There's dirt and rocks or whatever there to hold that down. So that's not typically something I do. It's just kind of adapted to the issue that I had. A lot of times we'll put a drag right here, and I started to put a stake, and that's what happened. So the top dog bait's underneath this rock. There's a little bit of, I put some black gold on it this time, and some Bobcat urine right back here. So all the scent is right here. Of course, the trap's here. And this right here, we can call it some subtle guiding. It's more just a raise in the dirt than anything. Got to be careful guiding coyotes. They don't like to feel like they're hemmed in too much. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the few days that we're here. But anyways, that's what I did to remake the set. Coyote comes by here, they'll definitely come check it out, I'm sure. So.
All right, check day 5 is turning around for us. Charlie went back to back on coyotes. Now I got a bobcat. So the first half of the day was dismal, pretty slow. I was kind of falling asleep in the truck, I'm not gonna lie. So things are looking better the second half of the day. Dirt hole set was right here. Of course, we had the top dog in the hole, bobcat urine, and vixen elixir. So it's a great combo. Like I was saying earlier, I've been jumping around with all the lures, and they all respond and react quite well to them.
I got another set back here in the back. I'm gonna go check it.
Yeah, go. You never know, we might have a double.
Okay, this is the location Justin just caught the cat. He's remaking the set right behind Jake. So it's a little bit subtle, and it's grown up over the past couple of years, but you can see these pine trees right here. When we first set this a few years ago, they were much smaller, of course, and they're still small. But this isn't really a Forest Service road per se. I think at one time it was a logging road, and they've allowed it to pretty much grow up. But you can still see a pretty distinct trail right through here, and it kind of winds around. So there is definitely a path of travel here. When these big woods situations like this, sometimes these are easy to overlook, but we got the path of travel. I'm sure there's deer and other stuff running on this as well. We've caught gray foxes back here. I think this is the first bobcat we've caught in this location, but plenty of cover here for prey animals. It's just kind of got the whole package going on right here. So this spot consistently catches critters, primarily gray foxes in the past. So, but I just kind of wanted to give this a brief explanation here and if you look behind us where the vehicle is, there's no open road or open logging road or anything like that. So initially it was a little easier to see when we set it probably 3 years ago for the first time, but now it's pretty much hemmed in with trees. So but there's still that trail through there.
Check day 5 is in the books.
Yep.
Pretty good day.
Yeah. Not great, but not bad.
Yeah.
Just a good average day. So
I'll take it.
Yeah. Ended up with that little beaver
A couple coyotes.
and the bobcat.
Yeah, the Bobcat was definitely a good way to finish off the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was
hopefully tomorrow we can catch some more. And it was definitely a better day than the day before with just that gray.
right.
So things are moving upwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how these animals move, and you know, certain sections are doing something, and one section will be dead. I was trying to think. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5, what I would call 5 different sections that we're on, and they're all pretty good size. So I'm sure there might be on the ends where they somewhat join. That's a relative term. I mean, they're still a good ways apart. There might be some overlap of animals, but in general, those 5 sections would be, for the most part, different groups of animals. So, and here we are on check day 5. We're still not seeing much sign at all. We've got one road. We haven't caught a coyote on there, but it's the only logging road that's basically got any sign on it to speak of, as far as droppings. And I mean, you know, you might see some random droppings just while you were driving these roads, but that's even far and few between.
Yeah,
it's really odd.
I think if you were to come down here and just drive around and scout the place, and you based on your trip on what you see as far as sign, you probably wouldn't come down here and actually trap. You'd be pretty disappointed, I think.
I know I'm going to footnote that by saying we are putting a big effort into catching the small amount of stuff that we are to speak of. So, you know, it's not like going where you got a high concentration of coyotes and just knocking out 150 in 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Right.
You know? So, which
we need to do that too.
Yeah, we need to go do that. I don't look forward to that much skinning each day, but it would be, we'd have to bring up the hydraulic puller. There's no way that I'm skinning that many coyotes, but that's a different trip. That's a different story. So, but anyways, here for the amount of sign, probably for the amount of effort, it's probably equals about what sign we're seeing, I think, for what we're catching.
Yeah.
So
I'd say that's fair.
You know, it's definitely a low percentage of success on this trip. There's a formula for figuring trap night checks. You know, so you got 100 traps and you check them for 6 nights, so that's 600 trap checks. And then you factor in what your catch is for those 6 days, and that'll kind of give you a percentage. So we're below the chart. But it's all relative to where you're at. You know?
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, you could easily put this amount of work into another area or different state or whatever, and
be buried in stuff.
Be just covered, or you could turn around and do even worse.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
It's
just the nature of the game.
Right.
We've done that too.
Right.
Yeah.
We have done that too. We did that on New Mexico, one trip in particular. So, yeah, you never know, and the animal populations vary considerably. Last year, I can't remember how many checks we had, 7 or 8. We caught 5 cats. We did catch 19 coyotes last year. This year, the cats and the grays seem to be about the same as a year ago, probably. But the coyotes are where we're noticing that maybe there's not as many. So I think last year I know we had 1 for sure, and there were probably others out of that 19 that actually had mange. So if that went through them, that definitely affected the population.
Yeah, and we still have a few days to see how that may or may not turn around. So
right,
we'll find out.
So yeah.
Trapping has been a lifelong passion of mine. Back in 1976, I started Hoosier Trapper Supply, and we've had the privilege of serving trappers across this great country for all these years. We carry a complete line of traps and trapping equipment. You can check us out at HoosierTrapperSupply.com.
Who's your trapper deer sense? Success speaks for itself.
Okay, question and answer. Got three of them here, actually. So the first one was, how soon does the skin, after you've skinned an animal, how soon does the skin need to get into the freezer? So, there's a lot of variables to that. The biggest variable is how cold the weather is. So if it's really warm out, you need to get in there as quickly as possible. If you, for instance, we're on a trip and we either keep carcass animals to the end of the day and skin them and they go in the freezer that evening, or if we do happen to skin during the day and then we keep the skins out in the air, we don't bag them up. So basically you're holding that heat in that bag during the day without any outside refrigeration. So and that's particularly important if it is warm out. If it's cold, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. So, but still, you want to get it in the freezer as quickly as possible. And I always say, if in doubt, get it in the freezer. And if it's going to be a few hours, just do the best you can. Don't put it in a bag. Just leave it laying out. Get it in the freezer right away. So, most of the stuff, some things spoil much quicker than others. For instance, beaver's got a pretty good floor life. Red foxes not so much. Muskrats not so much. So it all depends on what it is. But the biggest thing is just try to get it in the freezer as quickly as possible. All right, another one was locations and how to handle weekend or evening trapping. What's the best thing to do? Obviously, locations would, in that scenario, you want to choose locations that are convenient. And are going to be efficient and not going to burn up a bunch of time if you can only check in the evenings. One thing about checking in the evenings, if you're land trapping, it's a bit risky as far as losing animals, that kind of thing. So, just do the best you can. If you are going to trap coyotes and check in the evening after work, I would be particularly... I think it's particularly important to have a good setup on your trap. In other words, offset jaw, lamination, keep the animal as comfortable as possible. Right, the shock springs, plenty of swivels, extended chain. In states where they may not necessarily require you to check traps every day just because of animal densities and et cetera, and basically wide open space land, they go with that, certainly that longer chain, plenty of swivels, shock springs, the whole thing. So that right there in itself would be very important. The locations are going to be the same outside of efficiency. So in other words, if you're setting a location, say a 2-track going back to a woods, if that's a coyote lake location for a morning check, it's the same coyote location that it would be for a evening check. It's just how you're going to work that. So weekends, that's tough. You're setting traps on a Friday and you're pulling them on a Sunday. A lot of times, if we're going to have to, for instance, we can't check traps for 2 or 3 days. So we will actually just fire those traps off, leave them in place, and then go back and reset them. And then that way you're not, digging new trap beds, doing the whole thing. So there again, that's tough when you only got, maybe a 2-day check. Particularly on a coyote line. If it's a muskrat line, no big deal. But if it's a coyote line, I think it would be nice to have a lot longer time. But you got to work within the confines of what you have in your life. So I get it. And the last question is making bait. What do I put in it? So, that's I'm not going to give out any formulas necessarily, but couple things I'll say is that you play around with bait basis. So you could say, for instance, you're using beaver meat or you're using bobcat meat or whatever. And you'll have to play around how far you want to age it. So the big thing on that is you can either use it fresh or you can use it aged or you can use a blend of both. You always need to age it to get it over that hump of the roadkill smell. So you don't want that rotten roadkill smell. That's a good buzzer to attract it. So Got to get over that hump of that. It'll actually kind of go the other way, and it'll kind of really even out. It'll almost, in a really weird way, it'll almost have a sweet smell to it. So you can put that and blend it back into your fresh base, or you can use it straight up like that. Now at that point, you can add, whatever you want to add to it. You can add, beaver castor to it, or muskrat glands, or whatever. That's going to be up to you, and that's the challenge and the enjoyable part of making bait, is to come up with these things that you can put together that will work. Now, almost anything is going to work, but will it consistently work? And that's what it really comes down to. And ultimately, it's a matter of doing a lot of experimentation to see how animals react to it, and then the time of year. So the one that kind of always got me is the guys that go do test plots like in the middle of the summer for a new lure or bait or attractant. And while that information is good, it's not 100% good, because I think you need to do that type of stuff during the trapping season when most people are going to be using that product. So all of that information is good to form an opinion on that particular bait that you're putting together. The thing is, you need to do it under a number of different scenarios, and maybe even over a number of different seasons, and then you got to tweak it and that kind of thing. So the idea of a one-dimensional bait, and what I mean by that is, okay, so you just take beaver meat and you're using that, and that's it. So that's what I would call a one-dimensional bait. There's no layering of smell there. So for instance, a commercial bait, or like our Top Dog Predator bait, it has a number of ingredients in there, so there's layers of smell. So there's not just the aged meat in there. There's a lot more to it than that. So it's important that you have those layers in there. Much more effective, much more likely to keep that animal there working the set so that he gets caught. So I know that wasn't a specific answer, and like I said, I'm not giving out formulas, because it all depends what you would do with that formula to even come up with something that you're going to make. So it's kind of like giving a recipe to somebody. You can give a recipe to 10 different people, and the outcome is going to be different from all 10 people making it. So anyways, it's some guidelines on making bait and making attractants. It's very rewarding. It's a challenge, and it's very rewarding when things come together on something that you put together to attract animals. So I hope that helps. Be sure to keep those questions coming through. Obviously, if you've got that question in mind, other people do too. So keep them coming, and we'll try to work through this.
All right, hope everyone enjoyed the show. Real quick, gotta mention we have the new catalogs coming out very soon. They're at the printer. About a month or so we should have those out, so these are junk at this point. So be on the lookout for that. You can follow the phone number or the website address below, and order one or sign up for our email newsletter and get it that way. HoosierTrapperSupply.com. Also, when I mentioned, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course, and I have a Facebook group called The Catch Circle. That's welcome to all trappers. Anything trapping related is welcome. So follow us on there and share your pictures, and we'll see you next time.
Join us on October 1st for the next episode of Who's Your Trapper Outdoors.